A very warm welcome to everyone joining us for this exclusive webinar. I'm Shreya and I will be your host today. The topic of our discussion is effectively managing risk using complete traceability in the semiconductor world. But before we kickstart today's discussion, let me walk you through a few hygiene items. On the left-hand panel, there are a range of engagement tools. You can get a quick overview on today's webinar topic from the information widget. You can also download resources related to today's discussion from the resource widget. If you have any questions during the course of the presentation, please feel free to submit them through the chat box situated on the left-hand side of your screen. We'll conduct a short Q&A session at the end where our panelists will answer selected questions coming from the audience. In case we miss out on any of your questions, we will definitely make sure to answer them through email. Without any further ado then, let me introduce today's speakers. From Cadence Design Systems, we are joined by Nili Sehgal. She's the Product Engineering Architect. From OpsHub, we have Aparna Garg. She is the Product Owner for Emerging Products. So that was a brief introduction of our speakers. Let me now hand it over to you, Nili, to walk us through the agenda of today's discussion.
Thank you. So today we are going to talk about two main tools, the vManager tool, which is owned by Cadence, and it's a tool that provides you solution on verification planning and verification management. It's a very scalable, reliable tool that exists for many years now in the market. It has a lot of really nice features around the verification planning, and it meets both the pre and the post-silicon functional verification. It's an enterprise class solution tool. And the other tool you'll see today is the OpsHub Integration Manager, which is also enterprise class integration solution that allow integration between tools where each engineer can leverage the tool that he is the best for its role to get the relevant information from that tool. So the agenda for today is to review with you what are the challenges and the risks that you have in the semiconductor domain, how vManager can help with that by enable traceability, and how overall integrated ecosystem can help you to reduce your risk and do effective risk management. And then we'll also show you a short demo of how all the tools works together. We'll open for Q&A, and we'll have a summary slide. So starting with the challenges and the risk that you have in the semiconductor today in your day-to-day work. You have compliance risk. So compliance risk refer to how do you trace your verification requirement down to implementation and from there to the successful execution of your regression. You may have some quality risk. How do I respond to changes? How do I make effective review and audit of all my requirements? How do I manage dependencies between my requirement and control them to be consistent? And you may also have schedule risk. How do I get to my final delivery and meet it with my business needs, but on time without missing my schedule? If we look at what McKinsey and Company quote in their articles, winners takes it all dynamic, or winner takes it all as we know it, we know that all you need to do is to be slightly better than your competition, and most likely you're going to get the majority portion of the market out there for your product. So how do you make it? How do you make sure that you're on the winner side, right? In order to do that, you definitely want to be to have innovation. And in order to win with innovation, you also need to make sure that you're not compromise your efficiency. So one thing to keep in mind is how do you gain efficiency built in your tools and in your methodology. The other thing is that we know you need to be fast. You need to make sure that your innovation is out there on time in fast way. And in order to be fast, you want to be data-driven and get your decision based on data. So how do you make your data available for you, transparent for you, traceable on a daily basis, so you can make sure that you are taking the correct decision. And last thing is collaboration. Innovation definitely required rich transparency and collaboration across teams and across tools. So you may say, okay, we agree that we need collaboration. Let me do manual collaboration. I can have all my people sit in one room and talk to each other. I can manually pass data between one tool to another and make sure that all the information is moving or passing from one tool to the other. A few things to keep in mind about doing it in a manual way. If you have siloed tools, definitely it will create a barrier or reduce your way to do collaboration. It's also going to reduce your velocity and definitely compromise your quality. Also, every time you do manual effort, definitely it involves some labor intensive. You need to put the time there, and it might be error prompt. Everything you do for the first time may take much longer and be open for error. It brings some risk. It's sometimes very hard to scale, because if now the tool that you want to connect with maybe have some changes, maybe have even a new version of the tool. What about if you want to connect to more than one tool? How do you easily scale? And the last thing should worry you about manual collaboration is poor traceability. How do I make sure that all my information has no gap and doesn't slow me in my decision making that we already saw that it's highly required to be for innovation? So if we have siloed teams and tools, we know that we're going to get poor traceability and collaboration. So it definitely required some effective risk management. This mainly critical in certain domain like the euro or defense or automotive, where traceability is highly important. So we definitely want to identify those risks and have mitigation. So let's look about the options of mitigation. On traceability, we want to make sure that we have the right priority per the business goal. And we want to make sure that we have fast validation for our management and requirement change. We also want to make sure that we have transparency, so we can identify critical dependencies between requirement and improve the requirement visibility across the tools and across the teams. And last but might be most important is the collaboration. You want to make sure that you have rich collaboration between the teams, between the tools, and full transparency. If we manage the scope and the life cycle of the requirement in an efficient way, we know that we can, identify the risks, solve them before they become critical for us. So with that, let me talk a little bit more about vManager and what capability it can provide to help you with managing those risks. So as I said, we have the tool of vManager, and part of vManager, we have a capability of Vplan. Vplan stands for verification plan, and it provides you the ability to define your verification goals and connect them to the metrics that you collect while you're doing your verification process. So the Vplan itself provides you traceability from the verification definition to the verification implementation, all the way down to the execution results themselves. And when I'm talking about execution results, vManager also have the ability to capture results from multiple verification engines. Actually, if you can see here on the right-hand side, all the different engines that exist in Cadence, if it's our simulation, the Excellium, if it's our emulation, the Palladium, if it's the formal tool, Jasper, or the prototyping, Proteum, we have the ability to collect coverage from all those tools in one place and show them all together. The other capability that Vplan has is that it can connect the verification definition to verification specifications. So if you have a specification, a spec, a PDF spec for that matter, from your marketing person, from your architecture, or whatever, and you want to connect whatever requirement they put there into your verification definition, we also provide a way to do that. Saying that, we know that we have out there some requirement management tool that their expertise is to manage requirement. And we acknowledge that, and hence we allow our tool to connect and elaborate and collaborate with those tools. So if we have requirement management tool that define the requirement and handle requirement relationship, Vplan allow the traceability and the audit from the requirement management tool to the verification engineer who actually works in our tool in vManager. And it does that in automatic and robust sync between the two tools, or at least it allows you to do that in a way that you'll have the ability to sync between the tools. So Vplan, as you can see here in the middle, an example of our Vplan. It has a roll-up coverage results in automatically way from all the different engines, as I mentioned before, to improve your overall verification quality. Also, the nature of the Vplan is hierarchical, as you can see here. So you can look at that at the top level or deep dive into the lower level and get the verification definition at every level. You can see here on the right-hand side the specs that I mentioned that can be annotated back to the vPlan. There are other vPlans that can also be connected to your main vPlan. We allow a lot of reuse between vPlans. And as you can see here, this is the coverage collected from the different engines that the results can be reflected on the vPlan, as well as test results, like passed, fail for tests that can be reflected back on the vPlan. So if we want seamless integration with requirement management tools, let's talk also about other integrated ecosystems that can help us. So what a good integration ecosystem will require? How can it bridge the information gap instead of working in silos tools? So we expect that this integrated ecosystem will have a transparency, full transparency between the existing tool for requirement to ensure the quality management. We are expecting it to have rich and accurate traceability in your tool, whether it's in the high level or in the low level. We need to make sure that all the artifact on one tool will be reflected on the other tool and vice versa. And we expect it to have a seamless collaboration, like automatic sync that the user don't need to worry about it, whether the tools are now sync or not. To achieve all of those, we at Cadence partner with OpsHub because they have the tool that actually do exactly that. And we believe it's provide a lot of values for our customers. So with that, I would like to hand over to Aparna from OpsHub to present their solution.
Hi, everyone. Nili just walked us through how organizations can effectively manage risks by integrating vManager with other tools. But for integration to be effective and useful, it is critical for an integration solution to be hassle-free and seamless. In other words, if vManager users end up working on stale requirements, or requirements team is often looking at old test results, will that be even helpful? Won't that be an overhead for both teams to validate separately that they have latest copy? Good sync solution should boost effective collaboration. And for that, all three aspects as shown here, reliability, scalability, and functionality are important. Reliability is a kind of assurance that vManager users will be working on latest requirements and requirements team will be looking at latest results, irrespective of unexpected situations like system outage or sync outage or server crash, etc. OpsHub ensures no data leakage, guaranteed eventual consistency when migrating vManager with any other system that we support. Another key aspect for a sync solution is scalability. Some questions to be answered here are, is the integration scalable to integrate thousands of projects and millions of data without slowing down vManager, without making it unusable for other users? or like by occupying all its license? Are there any full scans performed that will severely slow down vManager and the other tool due to high number of API calls being made? Is UI the only option to configure and monitor integrations, or can it be automated? OpsHub integration exposes APIs to configure and monitor integrations at scale, which makes it possible to automate different aspects of integration. So that was scalability. And moving on to functionality, which is the third key aspect of a sync solution. The solution should be functionally rich to integrate not only basic data like text or lookup, but also embedded active content like images, comments, links, or history. OpsHub also enables customer to first integrate existing requirements between other tools and vManager with complete history, so that both verification team and business team can start from same page. So these were the key aspects of an active integration and some key questions that one should ask before selecting an integration tool. Moving on to next slide. vManager can be integrated with 50 plus tools as shown on the screen here, which covers most of the industry leading tools like IBM Doors, JAMA, Atlassian Jira, Azure DevOps, PTC, etc. For more details on what is supported for each of these tools, you can visit OpsHub's website or contact OpsHub or Cadence for more details. We'll move towards a demo now. So in today's webinar, we are going to show our top 2 integration models, which we have curated from our experience of enabling vManager integration on multiple other customers. Our demo setup is in a pretend organization, which is into storage. So the organization has 2 teams, DRAM and a USB flash drive. DRAM team uses IBM Doors NG for requirements management, whereas USB flash drive use Jira. Both the teams are using vManager for verification, but with different teams using tools differently, obviously comes different integration requirements. So before we go to the demo, we'll quickly go through few slides to go through what the demo would look like. So this is the demo flow for IBM Doors next generation in vManager. DRAM team, which is in IBM Doors NG, want full visibility till test cases level, where Jira team just wants to know if all requirements are sufficiently tested and covered or not. For IBM Doors NG and vManager part, in demo, we will cover bidirectional integration for requirements and mate report. Whereas for Jira and vManager, we will show bidirectional synchronization of requirements with coverage data available in requirements itself. In both the models, that is Doors NG and Jira, verification results will be synced back to requirements tool and rolled up to parent requirements so that product team can review verification results at each requirement level and confirm if all compliance are met. With that, let's begin the demo. We will start by adding requirements in both tools together. We'll start with Jira, which is used by USB flash drives team, adding a feature requirement. We'll just give some basic details like summary. We'll give it a description and saving it. System architect now creates a couple of verification requirement under the same feature requirement that we created just now. So again, we'll give some basic details here. So these are the verifications that system architect want the verification team to perform. And we will link it to the feature requirement that we just created. Saving it. We'll add one more verification requirement. Again, we'll link it to the feature requirement and we'll save it. OpsHub is running in background, checking for requirement created or updated, and will integrate them to vManager. So while that is happening, let's add some requirements in DorsNG2. So this is used by DRAM team. Here also we will add a feature requirement. We'll give it a description. And save it. Now again here for DRAM team, system architect looks at the feature requirement and adds verification requirements under this. We'll save it. We'll add one more. So now here in DorsNG, we have a feature requirement and which needs to be verified under two verification requirements. And in Jira, just let me refresh. So there is this feature requirement, USB 26, and again, it is linked to two verification requirements. Switching to vManager. So here we have created two vPlans. One is for DRAM team, which is getting integrated with DorsNG, and the other USB is for flash drives team, which is integrated with Jira. So let's first go to USB vPlan to see all the requirements from Jira. Let me resync it to get latest requirements. So here we have all the three requirements that we created. First one, the feature requirement of what is the actual requirement that needs to be done. And then the other two are the verification requirements. Moving to DRAM. Here also I will resync. So here also we have all the three requirements that we added, maintaining same hierarchy order in both the cases as we saw it in Jira and DorsNG. Verification team will go through these requirements and start adding test cases. So we'll add our first test case under first verification requirement. Here goes our first test case, and similarly we'll go ahead and add second test case. And similarly for USB vPlan also, we will add two test cases, one under each verification requirement. So now verification team have started working for both the vPlans. They have added the plan test cases. Now for DRAM team, that is the DorsNG team, requirements team want visibility to test cases, actual test cases that are being planned. Therefore, for DRAM, we'll be integrating test cases back to Dors, whereas USB team, they don't want their requirement is not to have visibility till tests, plan tests. So in USB team case or in Jira case, we will just integrate the final results at requirements level. Let's go to Jira. So let me refresh it once. So here we don't expect any change to happen. Test cases are not integrated here. Whereas if we go to doors, let me just refresh it once. So here we have both the planned tests and they are linked to the their respective verification requirement. DoorSng team now reviews the test cases and adds additional details to one of the verification requirement. So here they will update the description and they will modify status to under review. And save it. Going back to vManager. Let me refresh it once. The changes have come back to vManager, where verification team looks at the newly added details and the change in status. Accordingly, they will add one more planned test. This test case should go back to DoorSng. So let's go to DoorSng and see if the test case is here or not. Let me refresh it once. So the test case is already here, chipset verification for smartphones. The DRAM team or the DoorSng team re-verifies tests and will mark requirements as approved this time, signaling verification requirement that testing can be started. This completes phase 1 of demo, where we saw how product team, system architect team, and verification team collaborated effectively on requirement definition, and everyone is on top of the updates, reducing risk of test cases written on older requirement definition. Now, in the second phase, we will see similar collaboration between teams, but this time during the testing phase, that is for verification results. The system architect and product teams from their own tools, that is DoorSng and Jira, for both the teams, DRAM and USB, can look at results and ensure that all compliances are met. We'll move back to vManager. Here, team will start executing tests and will attach test results in all the tests. We'll start with the USB Vplan. So give me a minute to quickly map some regression sessions to these tests. Okay, so here we have mapped the sessions with the planned test. Now we'll click on grade analysis here. What it does in background is it will persist the verification results in the planned test so that they can be taken back to Jira and DoorSng. The grade analysis is completed. I'll resync it to get the results. So here we have all the coverage and test data. Now, same thing we will do for DRAM. So quickly I'm mapping session to these planned test cases also. Now again, doing grade analysis. This is a tickle script. Just to elaborate, actually, this is a tickle script that is provided as part of OpsHub vManager sync solution. Okay, so now the test results are available in vManager. We'll go to Jira. Let me refresh it once. Here, the USB team finds the test results below acceptable percentage because for one of the verification requirement, it's only 33%. And they will change an overall, for the feature requirements, it's only 66%. So they will change status to require re-verification. This will go back to vManager. So verification team will know that some additional test needs to be added and they can work accordingly. Meanwhile, this is syncing back to vManager. Let's go and check in DoorSng if the results are reflected here. Let's refresh it here. So here results are updated results are reflected. In this case, also team goes through and verifies the results and coverage, and team finds the results as expected. So they won't take any further action. Let's go to vManager again. So here for USB, still some action is required. The status for the parent requirement is changed to requires re-verification. This has signaled this change in status has signaled the verification team that the results are not as expected. They will add some more tests in regression suite and will attach the recent results now. I'll rerun the grade analysis and resync it to have latest results. So now here also we have 100% coverage. These results should go back to Jira. Let's go back to Jira and check if the latest results are here. I'll refresh it once. The updated results are synced to Jira. It's all 100% covered with 0 failed runs and all passed runs. Here now team will change the status to closed or done. So this is again closing or completing the whole cycle. So that this gives a go ahead to verification team that all the work and required testing is completed for these requirements. So quickly we will go back to vManager and see updated status. So state is updated in vManager 2 and all the requirements are done. So this completes the demo. We saw how integrating vManager with other tools can allow teams to seamlessly collaborate and focus more on their respective area and what they are supposed to do rather than spend time in collaborating with each other and without having to go out of their tool. So in this whole demo, verification team was working in vManager and requirements team and a system architect team was working out of DoorSng and Jira. And at the same time, ensuring that everyone is looking at the latest copy of requirements and results. So this completes our sync demo, and I will pass control back to Nili.
Okay. So today we present to you 2 tools, the vManager for planning and verification management and the OpsHub integration manager tools, and show you how it provides enhanced traceability, collaboration and traceability between vManager and any other requirement management tool. And by that, reducing your risk, improving the productivity, and accelerate the innovation so you're ahead of your competition. And with that, I think we'll open for Q&A.
Thank you, Nili and Aparna, for sharing your inputs with our audience. Let me dive straight into the questions that we have received then. Our first question is coming for Nili. vManager is used to analyze verification requirement coverage in pre-silicon. Requirements from our requirements tool are converted into documents and shared with verification team for testing. So the question is, what are the benefits of using OpsHub versus using documents to create traceability?
Thank you for the question. So you're right that you can go to your requirement management tool, generate a PDF, bring over the PDF into Vplan, and start annotating one by one from the PDF to the Vplan. However, it's a very manual and probably harder work to do. The simplest solution that we provide is to connect via OpsHubs. And with that, you seamlessly integrate your requirement directly to a vManager section. So the entire verification teams can see the requirement details in vManager itself. And in addition, the verification team, after getting the section into the vPlan, can on top of it create metric sport, for example, under each section, map the regression results into the metric sport and get the results. And those results can now also sync back to your requirement management tool. So obviously, once you set up the connection between requirement management and vManager via OpsHubs, once you do it, the effort is one time, and from there on, you get your sync forever working seamlessly without you worried about it, instead of doing this manual work of maybe exporting to PDF and annotate every time.
Thank you, Nili. Our second question is coming in for Aparna. We maintain platform-wise regression plans in vManager. How do you model and integrate such data to requirements so that the team can see platform-wise results?
So this can be done by maintaining platform-wise metric ports under sections and then syncing metric ports back to requirements tool. So each metric port will signify one platform that was being tested for that requirement. In requirements tool, team can then view overall requirement level results and can drill down to see platform-wise verification results at metric port level.
Thank you, Aparna. The next question is for Nili. For different chips and sensors, we have different vPlans in vManager. Can you integrate them into same or different projects in requirements tool?
Yes, absolutely. We can integrate a different vPlan to the same or to the different project in the requirement management tool. There is no limitation here.
Nili, we have one more question coming in for you. What are the prerequisites for using OpsHub with vManager?
That's a good one. If you're planning to use OpsHubs, first of all, make sure that you're working with Vplan in database and not on the file system. We really need it because this way we can keep history and track changes and actually can work with OpsHubs and get sync. Also, the vManager version that you are using should be equal or higher than 2006. And also keep in mind that if you are using the integration, it does require the one vAPI license from vManager.
Thank you, Nili, for answering those questions. Our next audience question is coming in for Aparna. While working on test cases, the verification team often maps interim regression sessions to metric ports so they can view aggregate coverage results at parent section level. It looks like OpsHub will integrate coverage results back to requirements tool every time they are mapped to metric port. Is there a solution to tackle this problem?
So yes, OpsHub supports this with the help of on-demand synchronization. And as part of configuration, you can choose to synchronize coverage results only when requested. For this, we also have an option to trigger sync from vManager GUI itself. So just like we saw in the demo, as part of synchronization package, there is an option of grade analysis, which provides similar tickle script, which will trigger on-demand synchronization whenever team wants to synchronize coverage results back to requirements tool.
Thanks, Aparna. Unfortunately, we are running out of time on this webinar. but we will squeeze in one last question. And this is also coming in for Aparna. When syncing hierarchy, how does the tool take care of reparenting? Some plugins delete and recreate parent requirements, leading to loss of all work done under the requirement. Aparna, will you take that on?
Yeah, that's a good question. And we have heard this coming from our other customers also. So, answer to this is OpsHub smartly handles reparenting by relinking its child to new parent without having to delete and recreate the requirement, because that way you will actually lose all the work that was done under that parent requirement. So this retains all the activities performed and work done on all requirements in reparenting scenario.
Thank you, Aparna and Nili, for answering our audience questions. With that, we come to an end on today's webinar, but we will continue to host similar webinars, bringing you the most in-depth insights. If you want to know more about our upcoming events or products and solutions, please log on to www.opshub.com, or you can even reach out to us on email. Do write to us because we love hearing from you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Take care and stay safe.